Hey there!
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Normal. My name is Neo.
And my name is Lebu. Today we're actually going to be speaking about how to actually protect your assets.
Man, it's a very important question. It's a question that every property investor should be asking themselves before they even start investing in property.
Before we actually dive into content, make sure that you have actually subscribed. If you are actually looking for content from your two brothers speaking about how to actually invest in property or speaking about entrepreneurship, make sure that you have actually subscribed.
And on the 1st of May, we will be hosting a property workshop in Pretoria East only for 25 people that are serious about property investing. So please do RSVP by sending us an email at propertyevents@normal.co.za. Limited seats only, 25 people. Let's do this.
Man, this is really exciting. So now we'll actually see you there. Let's dive into content, right? This is something that will be actually spoken about deeper by an expert. We're speaking of asset protection from a property investor perspective. So now, when you're thinking about protecting your asset, what's the first thing that actually comes to mind?
Today we'll be discussing the top 3. So from the most basic one, which is insurance. I mean, everybody knows that you need to have insurance. However, now it can be quite tricky, especially when somebody's buying it through cash. Because if you're buying it through cash, then you have the liberty to say, how can I cut costs on a monthly basis? And then, is insurance really a need? However, now when I'm buying it through bond or the bank or a bank institution, I know for sure that insurance is a must, so I need to have insurance. So with regards to property investing, I would say that insurance is very important, because not only because that there'll be somebody living in your property, however, to secure the property itself, I mean, imagine if I know that in South Africa there's not so much natural hazards that happen. However, if something does happen, let's just say that you've got a student accommodation and you've got 20 students in that student accommodation. You know, when I'm speaking to them, you know what, man, I've got 20 students and it's not insured. If a party does happen there, because we know students go really hard on partying. If a party does happen and then they decide to burn down the house, who will be liable for that house? Because I can still own the land. However, something did happen to the property itself, that will be a problem. So insurance is a must, especially when you're looking at it from property, not only property investing perspective, however, owning a property, even when buying cash, insurance is a must.
Most definitely. So now, Neo spoke about insurance, right? What a lot of people also miss is your life cover to actually fund that particular property. So now what happens most of the time is that especially when you are actually going to be taking your house based on a bond, right? What would happen is that you'd need to take out an insurance and also a life cover to protect that particular asset that you have. The reason why you have these two is that should anything happen, the party happen at that particular property of yours and it gets burned down, then you already know that your insurance will be the one that will handle it. But now say for instance, if something does happen to you and you pass on, right? Who's actually going to be paying off that particular property? So now with your life cover, that will actually protect that particular property that you have over there. So now in that way, you need both, because if you only took out the life cover and you didn't insure the property, then if the property burns down, the life cover doesn't actually protect that. And vice versa. If it does happen that you pass on but you had insurance on the property, the insurance won't actually protect that particular property. So make sure that you have both of them.
And with regards to insurance, guys, please make sure, I know that, you know, when you're signing insurance, when you just got the property, you just have the keys. Like, I got the keys. You're excited about that. And then the last thing on your mind is the terms and conditions that are in that insurance that you're signing up. So make sure that you do read what are the terms and conditions, because you find out that the fine print will catch up with you on a later stage, especially if you are in trouble. So you'd like to know that in case of, let's say it's not natural, something does happen, how is my insurance going to come through to protect me? And now if that is already that, if you opted for insurance that, you know what, I'm compromising on this, I know that I'll be paying less, then you need to make sure that you start saving up just in case something does happen, because last thing you want is a geyser breaking or something happening and then you be like, insurance guys, come through, and only to find out that they won't help you. So please do read the terms and conditions, so from the onset, before you get the keys, so you know that this is what you're signing up to.
So now that was the first part. The second part now.
The second part is the estate planning. You know, estate planning is quite a sensitive topic, because but it's a sensitive topic, however, at the same time, it's very important. We can't run away from it. It's all coming to us, man. I don't like doing this example about me, but what can I say, man? We just do it. So if something does happen to me, God forbid, if something does happen to me, if something happens to me, then I own 50% of the property and Lebo own the other 50%. As much as we are brothers, now when I have a family, the situation becomes complex. So if I didn't think about this when I own one property, all of a sudden after 40 years, we own a complex, and then how are we going to deal with it? How is it? Because Lebo is directly taking decisions. Lebo is on the ground in terms of let's do this, let's do that. And then when my family comes through, we need to have sat down, made an agreement that in case something does happen to me, how are we going to move forward with the business? Because systems are very important. Systems that will outlive us. Because last thing you want is not thinking about estate, and then if something does happen to me, then the whole family is fighting. My 8 kids want this property, and then Lebo's like, but you were not there when this started. Now you want to avoid that through all costs. You have to have an agreement. Think about the future, that how do I incorporate my family with my business partner, and most importantly, how do we ensure that the sustainability of the business outlives generations? Because now if I'm only thinking about me, that man, if my 50%, I want my kids to directly own that other 50%, even with decision makings, they will be in charge of that, only to find out that the transfer of skills did not happen correctly. That will be a problem, and you don't want to find yourself in that situation.
Yeah. So now, when you're looking at that particular situation, right, that is actually going to be a tough conversation, especially if you are in a partnership as like me and Neo. So now what happens if, say for instance, something happens to, right? If something does happen to him, then what am I going to be left with? So now same thing with him. If I pass on and then he's still alive, what's going to happen with him in terms of splitting of the money between him and my family that's actually left behind? So now you need to actually have that conversation between yourself and your partner. So now the third one that we actually wanted to speak about is that how do I actually protect my assets using a business, a trust, or taking it out as on a personal note, right? So now looking at these 3 forms of ownership, they are actually different in their own ways. So now this will depend on how you as a property investor are actually looking at this particular thing. So now if you're only taking it out on a personal note, remember that it's going to be actually tax heavy, because now they are actually going to be adding your income plus the income that you're getting from your properties to actually understand that how much should you pay in taxes. So now for me, that is a way to actually put your foot into the property business. But now once your business starts growing, you need to actually move on to the 2 that we're actually going to be speaking about. When you're looking at the second one, which is your business, right? You are a shareholder of that particular company. You being a shareholder of that particular company, now the shares are owned by you. You don't actually pay as much tax if you're actually taking it as an employee. Reason being is that they are actually going to be looking at your tax personally on one side, and they're going to be looking at your business tax on the other side. So now if you are actually able to actually write off a lot of your costs from that particular money that you're actually getting, that's a bonus from your side, right? And then with your trust can also be tax heavy, but now you are actually protecting your assets that you actually will be having. So now how a trust works is that you are going to be opening up a trust. So now this trust will be seen as a person, right? And then this trust will be actually owning the business. So now being the trust being the shareholder of the particular business, you will then come in as a beneficiary of this particular trust, right? In that way, should anything happen to you, the transfer of all the properties that you have would be easier, because now you would be the main beneficiary, and then you'll have other beneficiaries under you. So now in that way, it's a easy transition from you being the main beneficiary to, say for instance, your child being the next beneficiary after you.
I mean, how I look at it, you're spot on, Liv. You're spot on. How I look at it, if we were to say these 3 pillars of ownership versus asset protection, when I'm looking at it from an individual basis, that I can say that, you know what, I don't have as much money to open up a trust right now. But then I should know that if anybody comes for me, they are coming directly for their property that's directly owned by me.
Yes.
And then now, however, if I'm registering it as a business, under my business, if anybody comes to me now, it's separate from my business.
Yes.
So you can see me have so many properties. However, if they registered under my business and I sat down with my conveyancer, they made sure that everything is waterproof with regards to delinking it from myself, then I can actually have that space, that leeway, looking at it from a leeway position. Now, as a trust, if I'm looking at it as a trust, even if somebody's coming for my business or me, I still know that my business is protected. So it's a give or take with regards to all of these pillars, and there are pros and cons with regards to all of them. So before we close that, if you were quite intrigued about what we were speaking about, you need to make sure that you do RSVP for the event that we will be having on the 1st of May 2021, because a conveyancer will be there and they will be speaking in depth about everything that we spoke about and more. So best be sure that you do RSVP before it's too late.
So now that's it from us.
Hope you guys did enjoy this. And
make sure that you have actually subscribed. Noel,
signing out.